Hello class, this is section 5.2, the sum and difference formulas. So they start us off with the cosine A plus B formula, which is cosine times cosine minus sine times sine. The minus one is the same, you just change the plus to minus and the minus to plus, and that's the only difference. So let's apply the formula for this problem here. Well, we don't have 75 degrees on our unit circle as a terminal side that we're familiar with. So what we do have is 45 and 30. So let's break it up into 45 and 30. So that's equivalent to 45 degrees plus 30 degrees. Now we can use the formula, which says cosine A plus B is cosine times cosine, cosine of the first angle times cosine of the second angle, minus sine of the first angle times sine of the second angle. All right, and then you can use your unit circles. The cosine of 45 degrees is radical 2 over 2. The cosine of 30 degrees is radical 3 over 2. Sine of 45 is radical 2 over 2, and the sine of 30 is 1/2. So this would be radical 6 over 4 minus radical 2 over 4. So the final answer would be radical 6 minus radical 2 over 4. For the next example, this time we're going to work backwards. We're going to work on the right side and convert it to the left side. So it's cosine, cosine minus sine, sine. So cosine, cosine minus sine, sine. So that's going to be cosine of the first angle plus the second angle. Cosine of the first angle, which we can call that A and call that one B. So that's going to equal the cosine of A plus B, which is 3x plus 2x, which is cosine of 5x. So that would do it. And here are the two formulas. All right, let's apply this formula, the formula to this problem. So we've got to show that the left side is equal to the right side. So the minus for cosine, cosine minus would be cosine, cosine plus sine, sine. So cosine, cosine, cosine of the first angle, cosine of the second angle, plus sine of the first angle, sine of the second angle. And we know that cosine of 90 degrees, if you look at your unit circle, is 0. So this whole thing is just going to become 0. And we know that the sine of 90 is 1. So this becomes sine of A, which is equal to the right-hand side. All right, so here's the difference formula for sine. Same thing, the addition one would be the equivalent. The only difference is that if that's plus, then this would be plus for sine. And for tangent, they're here as well. And remember, these are all on your trig formula sheet that I gave you guys. Let's look at the homework now. So let's skip down to problem number 5. So it looks like 15 degrees is not an angle that we recognize on our circle, but what we do recognize would be, let's use 15 degrees to be the same thing as 45 minus 30. So now we can use our difference formula. This 15 degrees becomes 45 minus 30. All right, and if you remember, that would be, let's see, sine minus would be this one, which means we do minus, so sine, cosine, minus, cosine, sine. Sine, cosine, minus, cosine, sine. Sine, cosine, sine, cosine, minus, cosine, sine. All right, our unit circles tells us that this is radical 2 over 2. Oops, this should be a 30 degrees. Sorry about that. Cosine of 30 would be radical 3 over 2 minus radical 2 over 2 times 1/2. So this is going to be radical 6 minus 2 over 4 radical 2. There we go. And this is another way to write the same thing. You can write it as a fraction in the front or as a denominator of 4. Either way, they're both correct. For this one, This one's a little bit harder, but you should be able to recognize that 7/12 is the same thing as pi over 4 plus pi over 3. You can verify that. And so now we can use a sum formula for cosine. All right, and the formula says cosine would be, cosine plus is going to be, cosine plus would be minus. So cosine, cosine minus sine, sine. Cosine, cosine minus sine, sine. So cosine, cosine minus sine, sine. All right, our unit circles tells us that this is radical 2 over 2. This would be radical 3 over 2. This would be radical 2 over 2. And this would be a 1. Oh, I'm sorry. This is going to be 1. Oh, this is radical 3 over 2. Sorry. And this one is actually a half. This one is a half. Sorry about that. Got those wrong. So this is going to end up being radical 2 minus radical 6 over 4. And once again, you can write the coefficient as 1/4 out in the front. Let's check our answer. And there it is. Okay, this one is sine, cosine minus cosine, sine. So that's the sine function. That's the sine formula. So that's going to be equal to sine of, if this is your A and this is your B, let's see, minus for sine is the bottom one. So it's going to be minus as well. So it's going to be A minus B, which is sine of 2x. All right, well, we know that the period should be, the period for sine is 2 pi over b, which in this case is 2 pi over 2, which is pi. So one complete cycle should be pi. Notice that, and sine starts at 0. So it's got to be, can't be this one. Whoops. It can't be this one. It's got to be between these two because these are the only two that resemble sine. They start at 0, as you can see. And it has to have a period of pi. That means one complete cycle should end at pi, which it does right there. This one does not. This one complete cycle ends right here, which is pi over 4. So it's got to be this one right here. All right, this one, it's one of those showing the left side equals the right side, and they guide you through it. So it looks like they replace this with this expression using the sum formula. And then the second one, this formula goes here. It got cut off, but the first part of the formula is sine of the first angle. So that would be sine of 90 right there. All right, and then, so over here we got, looks like they are, what's happening here is that they are sine of 90. It looks like it's getting cut off, so it's kind of hard to tell what's happening, but this is going to be 90 degrees. So there it is, 90 degrees. And then the sine of 90 is 1. All right, over here, similarly, you have this becomes this. And so that would be, let's see here, it should be sine of the first angle, which is pi over 6. All right, and then for the next part, it's going to be same situation. I think this is going to cancel with this, but I can't really tell because I can't see. But you're going to be left with this. So it's going to be sine of pi over 6 again, times cosine. Yeah, because it looks like these terms are canceling out. And so, and you have actually, that one cancels out with that one, and then these two combine to make 2 of them. So that's where the 2 comes from. And then finally, the sine of pi over 6 is 1/2.